Hello everyone, Mindy Beverly with you today from mindybeverlyartstudio.blogspot.com. I'm here today to share with you a full tutorial video for some super adorable doghouse treat boxes. Today I'm featuring Kindred stamps, a stamp set called A Bit Spotted. You can see right here this super adorable little stamp set. We're going to be using the little puppy dogs from this set on my project today. What we're going to be creating are these super adorable little doghouse treat boxes. You can see they can be filled with candy, they can be given to a teacher or a student, or just somebody you want to say you've been spotted being awesome. And here's the other one that I created. These are super easy, and we're going to create the whole thing from scratch step by step. So let's get started. First, you're going to need just some plain white cardstock for the base of your doghouse treat boxes. Here it is already pre-cut for you. The measurements I cut this rectangle cardstock is 6 3/4 inches tall by 8 1/2 inches wide. Now we're going to go ahead and score this. So I'm going to bring my scoreboard over. And I also, on my blog, I'm going to have the link below on the video, I have a full template showing all the measurements for you as well. Let's get this in here. Okay, so you're going to put it in the scoreboard lengthwise first. And I'm going to get my bone folder, and we're going to score on the 8 1/2 inch side, first at 2 inches, then we're going to score at 4 inches. And like I said, if you miss any of these measurements, I have them posted on the template on my blog, so you can easily go back and print that off for reference even. That's 2 inches. Okay, and then the next score mark is 6 inches and then 8 inches. So we're going to do 6 inches right here and then 8 inches. Let's see here. Okay, then you're going to turn your paper so it is now at the 6 3/4 edge, and we're going to be scoring again. And the score marks for this one is 2 inches, and then you're going to score again at 5 inches, and then lastly, you're going to score at 6 1/4 inches. And then you should have something that looks like this. Then go ahead and just fold over the score lines you just made and use your bone folder to really make them nice and crisp. Move this out of our way. And then same thing on the other side. Okay, now you're going to want to turn your paper the long ways, but you're going to want to make sure that you have the little 1/2 inch edge to your top and the other 1/2 inch edge to your right. Then see this little rectangle here on the bottom right side? We're going to use just some little scissors and we're going to cut that piece right off. I'm just going to trim that little piece off there, just like that. So it should look just like this. The top small score 1/2 inch, the sides score 1/2 inch, and then this little bottom rectangle is cut out. Then these 2-inch sections here up to the first score line, you're going to trim each one of those straight up to the score line. And then the last one as well. Okay, and it should look like that now. Now we're going to take a little ruler, and let me find what I did with it. We're going to score at 1 inch in, so I'm going on this little top rectangle here, and then this other one right there. So on this little section here, we're just going to line it up with the score line, and you're just going to get your bone folder and just follow that score line at 1 inch. And then you're going to do the same thing on this one right here. And then you're going to take your ruler and you're going to line up with this line to your little 1 inch score line, and it's going to make kind of a little triangle. So we're just going to score to that line, and then the center of that line to the other edge. This is going to make the side of your little milk carton style dog house. Same thing with this one here. Make sure you get it to the edge of the score line and across. And then same thing with this last edge. There we go. Okay, so I know it's kind of hard to see in the light, but hopefully you can see that. And then I'm just going to kind of reinforce the score lines and just kind of bend them along where we just scored. Okay, so now to assemble, we're going to assemble this treat box base, and how we're going to do that is I'm going to start on the edge without the little 1/2 inch flap. So you're going to fold up the bottom and fold on the next one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place adhesive right on top of here, and I'm going to fold this edge on top and press it down. Okay, so one more time, you're going to put adhesive right here, then you're going to take this edge and you're going to fold it right over on top and press it down. So we're going to do that right now. I'm just using Dry's Clear adhesive. It works really well. It's nice and strong, and it doesn't show up if you accidentally get a little bit off of your project. Okay, so now I'm going to put that in right there and press that down. And the same thing, I'm going to put adhesive here again on top of this next one. And then I'm going to fold this edge right on top, and see we're creating the box base. Okay, and then lastly I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put adhesive here, and this time I'm going to put adhesive on this little side flap too before I fold in that last piece. And then adhesive on the outside of that little 1/2 inch flap. Okay, and this one, when you fold it in, you just want to make sure that little flap goes in as well. And then you can seal your little box together. And I'm going to use my bone folder just to press down the adhesive to make sure I got it really well. All right, you can see the little base of our boxes now come together. And then the score lines we already folded. You can see that they just fold right down like that. And voila, all done with the main base part. So now I'm going to just take some Distress ink in Vintage Photo. I'm just going to quick ink my top edges of the box. I'm going to ink the sides and the bottom edge. And I'm doing this because we're going to be adding the little slats that you noticed on my projects. And you don't want the side edges to show through. You want them to blend with the edges of the little slats for the doghouse. All right, that looks good. Okay, so to create your little slats, you're going to want to cut 16 of them, 16 little rectangles, out of the same white cardstock that you used for the base. So they're gonna look like this, and the measurements for these are 3/4 of an inch high by 2 inches wide. And you're gonna be cutting 16 of those, like I said. So what you're going to do for those is you're going to take your Distress ink in Vintage Photo. Again, you're going to ink all around the edges of all 16 of them. And I'm only going to show you how to do this one here because I pre-inked and got ready, added the little nail detail to all the other 15 so that it would go much faster. Okay, so there you go. I inked the edges. So now you can see here's the other slats that I created, and we need to add the little nail details. So I'm just using just a black little pen. This is just a little fountain pen. I'm just going to add, just eyeball some little details, some little circles for the nails. You don't have to be too specific because when you're nailing boards anyway, most of the time they're a little bit different anyhow. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add these to the outside of the box. 4 of these should fit in this longer 3-inch section perfectly. So what I do is I start by adhering the bottom, the top, and then adding the 2 middle. So we're going to do that, and we're going to add them to all 4 sides. So I'm just adding the dry as clear adhesive, and I'm lining it up with the bottom there. And then I'm going to add it to the top edge where that score line is. There we go. And then you're going to add your other 2 slats. And it's okay if they slant a little bit. They're not exactly perfect. It makes it look more authentic when it's not quite 100% lined up. There we go. Okay, and we're going to turn the box over and then do the same thing on these other sides. And just lining that up just like before. Start with the bottom. Add the next piece on the top. And then add your 2 center pieces. And this is creating the front of the doghouse where this little bend is on the side of the box. Same thing on the final 2 sides. We're just going to quick do them very fast. I mean, these little boxes go together pretty quick, and you can cut your multiples of these at a time, make them for all of your little school teachers, or like I said, a little class treat, or just a little reward for somebody, just letting them know that you spotted them doing something awesome. All right, and the last side. and the top. And then the two middle pieces. All right. Looks good, perfect. Okay, so now we've got all four edges of our little box here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to work on the blending of the roof pieces. You can see in here, I have them done in red. And what I did for this is just a die I used. I ended up cutting 6 total of these die, this little scallop die, but you could use any type of scallop die or scalloped rectangle die. It really doesn't matter, just something that gives you a scalloped edge that can work for the side of your doghouse. So for this one, it's about 4, you just measure it up on the top, so about 4 little scallops fit this one specifically. So what I'm going to do is just trim it off there because I don't want to have to waste ink on the extra edge that I'm not going to need. And I've already pre-inked 5 of them. I'm going to show you how to ink this last one, and then we'll add them to the top of the doghouse. So I'm just going to move my blending mat over here so we don't get ink everywhere. It's easy to clean up. Okay, this is just my little glass craft mat. Okay, now I'm going to take the little scalloped edge there. I'm going to be using a blending sponge and Distress ink in Candied Apple. And when I'm using my Distress ink, I use circular motions. So like that. Just small circles to give an even blend so you don't get any harsh lines. And if you notice, I'm getting the bottom edge a little bit darker than the top. It always looks the best when you're doing a gradation of the Distress ink. It gives a little bit more dimension to your die cut pieces. At least this is something I love doing for my die cuts. So you can see I like leaving a little bit lighter area there. Now I'm just going to take the Distress ink and then go around the edges just to darken them up. And this is the same process I did for all of the other roof pieces, 6 in total. So now what we're going to do is we're going to adhere them to the outside of the doghouse. Just wipe this up really fast so we don't get ink on our project. There we go. Okay, so we're going to line this up here. You can see this is the edge where it bends, and then this is the outside, and that's where we're going to put these roof pieces. I'm going to start with the bottom first, and then you're going to work your way up to the top roof piece. So I'm just going to do a line of glue across the bottom. You're going to line up this roof edge with the edge of your score line at the bottom. You don't want it on top of the score line, the actual edge where it's glued, otherwise it won't bend. And same thing with this other side. I'm going to do the bottom one right now. Lining it up right above that score line, but not on top of the score line, giving it a little bit of room to bend. And then I'm going to do the next edge. And this one, you want to get these little edges just barely overlapping, kind of in the center, like that. I'm just going to press that down. I'm going to do that same thing on the other side. There we go. Just push that down. And then lastly, we're going to add the very top roofing pieces. And you can see that score line, you want it just below that, but not on top of it, so that the top of this can still bend and close. And same thing on the other side. There we go, just like so. And voila, now we have the main base done and the roof done. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start decorating the front of this. You can see here I have a little grass border, I have the doghouse door, and the little sign with the little dog bone. So what we're gonna do is we're going to add the doghouse door, and we're gonna have to blend the ink on it. So I just have a little door that I die cut. You can use any kind of die cut that looks like a door shape, half circle. You could use just hand cut it. It doesn't really matter. We're gonna be blending it with Distress ink in black soot and a blending sponge. And like before, you're gonna start off the edge and just go in circular motion, starting off the side and then towards the middle, and same thing on the other side. Still giving that gradation in the middle, just for some extra dimension. And you can blend until you're happy with the color. And then I'm going to take the ink and then go around the edges just like I always do. Darken this up just a bit more on the edges. Because this door is supposed to be, access point from shadow and not actually a door a dog would open. So you kind of want to cover up that little heart. But if you have just a plain door shape, you wouldn't have to worry about that as much. You could blend it a little bit later. Okay, now that it's all blended, what I'm going to do is I'm going to